I got out and was released to a halfway house. So I was technically homeless. I had prison shower shoes, which are really janky flip-flops, and I had sweatpants that said 711-548, my inmate number. That's all I owned in the world.
They let you keep them?
I bought them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
you have
awesome.
to pay for them.
Hope you still have them.
I don't, actually.
No?
I have a prison t-shirt with my number on it, but I think I lost the sweatpants.
Shit.
I know. They were really comfortable, too. I worn them in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was homeless, and I got a couple of jobs. One was at a telemarketing job, and one was at a smoke shop, like vapor smoke shop. And I had to travel 4 hours to have visitation with my daughter because that's where she was placed. And in order for me to do that, I had to hustle to get rides. So she was placed, 4 hours away, and I'd hustle to get rides, visit with her for 2 hours, and hustle back. And I was, working these 2 jobs and trying to save up money. I had to get a driver's license, and that's kind of hard because all my shit's in New York, so I had to get a birth certificate. And it was just so much, right? I had to get an apartment to make sure that I could, have a place for Micah. It was just obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. In Arkansas, they don't want to rent you if you're a felon. So that was even more of an obstacle. And I was doing hair follicle drug testing, and I was doing all these things for parole, and I was doing therapy. I mean, it was a very long process that spanned over a year long. And finally, a year after my release, I was granted full custody of Micah.
Really?
And she's 9 years old now.
That's awesome.
What was the the arrangement with the foster family and you? Did you guys have some sort of mutual understanding of because sometimes you would imagine if there's a foster family that takes a brand new baby, they'll get attached to it and they'll want to keep the baby.
1,000% they loved her to death. And I'm so glad that she was with people that loved her. And a lot of people think they can't do foster care because they're like, I'm going to get attached and I'm going to love that child and I'm not going to want to give her back or give him back. If you have that much love to give, you should be a foster parent.
Yeah.
Despite, your own personal feelings and attachments, if you have that kindness and that love, you should open your home if possible, because we have so many kids in foster care. So don't get me started on that. But the arrangement was that if I lost, I would move to the town that they were in, and I would have, daily access to Micah, and she would still be in my life, which I appreciated, but I wasn't going to settle for that. I was going to fight until my last breath to have custody of my baby. Mm-hmm. And really, to be completely transparent, I thought I was going to lose because the odds were heavily stacked against me. And I just wanted my daughter to know I fought for you until the end. And then when I lost, I appealed it and I fought more, and I fought, and I've been fighting all your life. I didn't want her to think that I didn't love her and that I just gave up on her. So I really thought that I was just going to lose, and she would know that I fought the best that I could. I had heard horror story after horror story of parents losing their kids and not getting them back, so I really thought that was going to be the case with me. So if anyone's listening and they're shocked that I got my kid back, me too, bro. Me too. I didn't know how to raise a kid or cook anything. I didn't know how to be a mom, but I learned, and Micah taught me every day what to do. And, it's amazing looking back that I was able to do everything that I did in such a short time, and I'm really proud. I think my biggest achievement, my biggest accomplishment is getting custody of Micah. And then obviously, staying sober and doing everything else that I've done. But if that didn't happen, nothing else would have happened. If I would have lost her, I'd probably be dead. I probably would have relapsed.
How long did it take you to finally get custody from the time you got out of prison until you got full custody of her?
Over a year.
Over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Still, it doesn't 1 year doesn't seem like that long of a time to do that.
It doesn't, but it was really hard.
Really? They didn't want to give her up.
Not the foster family. This is the court system.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I had to do, drug testing and psychological testing and therapy and meetings, like NA and AA meetings and parole, and go visit her every single week. I never missed one visit, even though I didn't have a car to start with. So I would just hustle, and I'm asking people at work, I need a ride, help me, please give me a ride. So it was a tremendous struggle. But I did it, and I still don't even know how. When did I sleep? I was working 2 jobs at the same time.
Right.
So it was crazy. I think I just worked myself into staying sober. I worked to death, and I had no time to think about it.
You had no time to, yeah. It's crazy there's people out there like that. People that will just take in a random baby into their life and raise a brand new baby. That's so much work. Mm-hmm. So much work. You lose so much sleep. It just takes away so much from you, Mm-hmm.
Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have 1 kid.
Mm-hmm. So it's
yeah, I couldn't imagine just being okay, let's take somebody else's kid and let's raise it till he or she is 2 and then give it back. That's
yeah, it's
so
the most. I would love to be a foster parent, but
Really?
I understand why, like, to some people, it's like, holy fuck, why would you want to do that? It's so much. But if I wasn't like a career criminal on paper, I would
Yeah.
love to be a foster parent, because we have like over 400,000 kids in foster care that need good homes. So
Really? How I wonder how many, do you know like the statistics on how many children are born in prison, like to mothers that like are incarcerated, like give birth, like get
you
pregnant?
would think I would know. I should know that. I have a
Yeah.
whole ass degree in correctional program support services. I don't have the numbers on it.
I bet you a lot of them get knocked up by the guards, right?
Why do you think that?
I mean, because I know it happens a lot, right, in prison. Like a lot of the female inmates will have sex with the male guards.
It's not as widespread as you would think.
Uh-huh.
Like pregnancy by a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Sex, yeah, it's happening.
Because I know it happened in Coleman, that prison up in North Florida. There was a girl there who claimed she got raped by one of the guards, and then she got pregnant, and they found out that her baby was the guard's actual baby.
Yeah.
And then they ended up like firing the guy, and I think he got in trouble.
I mean, he should.
Yeah.
So that's insane.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not as widespread though as you would think. Like pregnancy. I'm not saying sex is not widespread in prison. I'm saying like pregnancy.
Right.
A lot of women go in to jail and prison pregnant, and they shouldn't, unless they're fucking serial killers. Can they stay home until they have their baby so it's not traumatic? Like it's the
Right.
bare minimum. House arrest would suffice. Most women are in on nonviolent charges, nonviolent drug charges specifically.
Like
So,
yours, like yours, right? Yours was
technically I'm
you
violent.
had guns, but
Yeah.
were you violent?
On paper, technically,
Okay.
I'm a violent offender.
Okay.
But I'm not violent. I wasn't
Right.
gonna hurt anybody. For me, when I say these things, like women should be able to stay home, I fucking know I deserve to go to prison. You know, I did my time. I know that I deserved it. I'm technically a violent offender. So for me, that wouldn't have changed the outcome for me, but it can change the outcome for so many other women. And I don't think any prison should house pregnant women unless they have a nursery program, because, oh my God, just the trauma surrounding leaving your baby, not just for the mother, but for the baby as well. It's so hard. I mean, you're ripping a baby out of, its mother's hands. Like, this baby has heard the mom's heartbeat and voice for 9 months, and you're taking that away.
Yeah.
So it
That
was
and
just,
the everything from like the breastfeeding too, like that's really important. How did you deal with that?
that's a really good question.
They have to like tape you up or something?
I was given ace bandages and told to wrap my chest with ace bandages.
Really?
And it was the most painful experience of my life. I have some friends that are trans that had top surgery, and they're like, you shouldn't wrap your chest so tightly. I can't believe you had to go through that. But it was excruciating. It was really, really bad. And my boobs did not look good now. I have fake tits, so we fixed it. But it just looked awful, and it hurt. It hurt for like 2 months, I want to say. So it was really hard. And plus, because I wasn't walking around in that room, like my recovery was really bad. So I was like limping because of whatever reason. I'm not a doctor, but my epidural, I felt everything on one side, not the other. So it was reversed in the healing process, where like my limp was on the opposite side and my back killed. Like my back was so sore for a
Did they
really long
fuck
time.
up the epidural?
I don't know. I don't know if that is like a common thing where the epidural doesn't set, but
sure.
I was blessed with a second daughter, Riley, and she's 5. That experience was literal bliss, and the
Really?
epidural was fire as fuck, and I didn't feel anything.
Wow.
And like I knew what to do. I felt when I was supposed to push, and it was just a very beautiful, happy experience. Micah, I had no idea what to do. I didn't know when to
Right.
push. I didn't feel anything. It was like my body was like just completely turned off. I didn't know what was happening. They had to tell me that it was time to push. I didn't feel it. But with Riley, I was able to have the experience that I should have had the first time.
Right.
I was home eating hot wings and ice cream like
Yeah.
a normal person. And it was just a great experience.